McNichols Arena, the place to be in Denver, Colorado tonight. The next stop on the Bulls' West Coast Victory Tour. Game 3 tonight in Denver against the Nuggets. Good evening, everybody. Dan Roan live in our Chicago studios. Welcome to the Bullseye, our pregame look at Bulls basketball here on Channel 9. This 6-game Western road trip off to a terrific start. Victories Wednesday night at Golden State and last night in Seattle have stretched out the Bulls' winning streak to 8. Their lead in the Central Division stands at 2 games over Atlanta, with Milwaukee and Cleveland both 3.5 behind. The Bulls had to work overtime to get that win in Seattle. This is what kind of a game it was last night. Tough to get a hold of. When Cliff Levingston finally did, he hit B.J. Armstrong, who got it to Stacey King. Stacey played heavy minutes at center last night, shot 7 for 11 and scored 18 points, maybe his best game ever. The Bulls led most of the way, but never by much. Here, Michael got it to John Paxson, drained it from 20, but the Bulls didn't get back on defense, and Derek McKee made him pay for it. Phil Jackson thinking his club was in for a long night, and he was right. Late in the game, Michael with the crossover move off the dribble, 10-footer good. Bulls had the lead, but Seattle had the answer for that with Ricky Pierce, who with the shot clock running down, hit a bomb to help the Sonics get this one into overtime, 97-97 after regulation. But Jordan kicked it up in the OT. 10 points, including the helicopter move down the left baseline. Michael had 31 for the game. Bulls got the lead, and they hung on to win it 112-109 over Seattle. Not much time to celebrate that one, though. For the 5th time already this season, the Bulls are involved in a back-to-back situation, moving from Seattle on Friday to Denver tonight. They turn their attention to a Nuggets team that's trying with some success to recover from last year's disastrous season. But as you'll hear in tonight's NBA scouting report, the Nuggets still have a ways to go. Give the Denver Nuggets credit for one thing. They did their best in the offseason to change the style, the talent, and the public perception of their ball club. A year ago, the Nuggets fell far short of NBA standards in all those categories. Paul Westhead found out quickly and painfully that his frenetic fast break and pressure system couldn't cut it in the NBA. The Nuggets were the laughingstock of the league by the All-Star break, and they won only 20 games all season. In trying to put all that behind them, the Nuggets unloaded a ton of what they considered to be excess baggage. Michael Adams, Orlando Woolridge, and Blair Rasmussen all have new NBA zip codes. Westhead, for his part, has turned away from that helter-skelter attack for a more conventional NBA system, and it's paid off. Hammered down in their opening 10 games a year ago, the Nuggets have a much more respectable record heading into the game tonight. One reason, they don't give up 130 points a night anymore. They also have some better players. Rookies Dikembe Mutombo and Mark Macon will head the class of '91 before it's all over. Mutombo, finally out from under John Thompson's thumb, has been spectacular at center. Everything Denver expected of him defensively, and better than Westhead could have imagined on offense. In Mark Macon, the Nuggets have a good player who can swing between the 1 and 2 positions. He came to the team late and has not shot well at all, but he can, and he most likely will. Other players of note on this Denver club include Reggie Williams, its most reliable offensive weapon, Chris Jackson, a disappointment as a rookie out of LSU a year ago, and Marcus Liberty of Illinois, still struggling to find the game that made him a high school legend at King in Chicago. And speaking of Chicago legends, the Bulls will reach the halfway point in this extended road trip when they finish with Denver tonight. And like the Nuggets, they too have improved upon their early season record of a year ago. Part of the reason must be the newfound confidence that a world championship can bring. They're humming along in the same groove they were in against the Lakers in June, holding the best record in the Eastern Conference. Michael Jordan's been his old reliable self, leading the NBA in scoring again, but he's had plenty of help. For example, in crunch time the other night at Golden State, it was Scottie Pippen who hit the big shot, and B.J. Armstrong who nailed the big free throws as the Bulls held off the Warriors. Injuries to Bill Cartwright and Craig Hodges certainly won't strengthen Phil Jackson's ball club, but his guys appear to be able to play around that problem. In short, they're still riding the wave that swept them to an NBA championship just a few months ago. And up to now, the Bulls have shown no inclination to jump off. And we'll see how it goes tonight at the Mile High City when they take on the Denver Nuggets. Right now, we want to head out to McNichols Arena where Johnny Red Kerr is standing by. He and Wayne Larrivee will be bringing you the play-by-play action tonight from Denver. Right now, Red, I guess a couple of personnel changes for this game tonight, one on each side.
You're right, Dan. Jerome Lane was let go, put on waivers today, and they activated Anthony Cook. player that's been out quite a while for him. Gives him a little bit more of an offensive threat. For the Bulls, Rory Sparrow was released, playing the guard position, and Scott Williams was activated. The Bulls can use another big man up front with Bill Cartwright being out with the broken hand. Now, in last night's game, Will Perdue started. Stacey King, as you mentioned, came in and played very, very well. And even Chuck Nevitt at 7'5" got his first baptism under fire with the Bulls, so they can always use another good big man.
Are you surprised at how well Stacey played in that game, John?
I'm really not surprised that Stacey played that well. He's been playing well, Dan, the whole season. I believe he's been in double figures the last 6 or 7 games. His moves are great. He's got to be about, I'm going to say, about 10th or 12th in field goal percentage in the league. He's doing an outstanding job for him. Matter of fact, he's the 4th leading scorer for the Bulls when you go behind Michael, Scotty, and Horace.
Well, that's not bad. You know, on this trip, you faced a center in Golden State that wasn't really that big. Of course, last night, a big club with Benoit Benjamin and those guys. And tonight, you get your first look at Dikembe Mutombo. What's he going to be like?
Well, he's going to be a big guy. It's going to be another good test. You know, the first game, losing Bill Cartwright wasn't a big factor because Golden State and Don Nelson, they play very small games with you and put a lot of little guys out there. Last night, Benoit Benjamin, he played big. He is big. We needed all the help we could get. Tonight, it's a rookie. We could sure use Bill Cartwright playing against this guy tonight, but I know one thing. Will Perdue and Stacey King and Scott Williams will have their hands full tonight.
Johnny, you've been out on this trip for a while now. What's been the reception in the cities around the league as the Bulls come in? I know last year when I was out a couple of times, it was absolutely a mob scene after games and before games. Has all that changed at all? Has it gotten any more intense since they won the championship?
It's never changed. Believe me, we've had crowds wherever we go. Last night we played a course in Seattle in the Sky Dome, and they had like some 37,000, the largest crowd they've had in 27 years during a regular season game. After the game, there must have been 3,000 people that we had to fight our way through to get into the bus, and then we got in here about 3 o'clock this morning. But the crowd reception is here. They were at the hotel. They're here before the game. I look in the front row filled with Chicago Bull outfits, number 23, and we're going to have a lot of fans here again tonight.
All those people were looking for your autograph, weren't they?
They can get mine if they want it.
Easier than that other guy's probably, huh?
Well, I'm a little more accessible, baby, Dan.
All right, Johnny.
This should be a good one tonight, though.
I think so, too. It should be a lot of fun. You guys have a good game. We'll talk to you a bit later on.
Okay, buddy.
John Kerr, live out in Denver. We'll return with more on the Bullseye tonight, including the NBA news, so stay with us. Welcome back to the Bullseye. Some big men making some big news in the NBA this week. The Knicks signed both Patrick Ewing and his protector, Charles Oakley, to long and fat contracts yesterday. Ewing got a 2-year extension that makes him the highest-paid team sports athlete in history. $5.5 million a year for 6 years. Oakley signed on for 5 years at $2 million a season. They then went out and celebrated by pounding the Pistons. Oakley and Ewing facing off with Mark Aguirre here. And then Patrick did a little bit more facing just a few minutes later. Off the great feed from Mark Jackson, Ewing jackhammered it to break a 59-all tie and send the Knicks on their way to a victory. Defensively, Patrick the Intimidator, as Isaiah Thomas threw up the air ball, they tip it out to Jackson between the legs to Starks in the clear. John Starks had 20 last night, so did Ewing, and the Knicks beat Detroit by a final of 99-90.
Bench to our right, lively right.
Houston's man in the middle, Akeem Olajuwon, remains hospitalized while doctors try to figure out what's causing his fluttering heartbeat. Olajuwon, who missed a long stretch last year after Bill Cartwright's elbow caught him in the face, will stay in the hospital through the weekend. And in a late development tonight, the Rockets have just placed Akeem on the injured list. He won't be eligible to play again until December 5th. A couple of milestones reached in last night's Miami-Sacramento game. Miami beat the Kings 118-112. The Heat now stand at 7-3, the proud owners of first place in the Atlantic Division. Meanwhile, the beat goes on for the Kings on the road. They've been beaten 43 straight away from home now, adding to their own NBA record. Golden State's outstanding point guard Tim Hardaway signed a contract extension with the Warriors yesterday. The Chicago native hooks on for 3 more years, and he's booked through the 1995-96 season. Hardaway then led his team in Portland against the Trailblazers in a classic Western Conference matchup last night. Here comes Timmy, coast to coast for the layup that got the Portland lead down under double figures. Don Nelson still in some trouble, but Golden State came back to tie it up. Portland, though, battled back themselves. The strip job out in front, up ahead to Jerome Kersey. The game tied in the closing seconds. And Nelson not looking too well over there. But winning will cure almost anything. And as the clock ticked off the final seconds, Chris Mullin lined it up for the victory from 15 feet out. The Warriors won it 116-112, and that, finally, is something to smile about. One more contract item. Former Notre Dame guard David Rivers is back in the league with the L.A. Clippers. Elliot Perry was put on waivers to open up that spot. And now, the latest on the book. Sam Smith's chronicle of last year's Bulls championship season, Jordan Rules. All the pre-release publicity led one to believe that the information in that book would rip the team apart. Well, obviously that hasn't happened. And while the controversy seems to have disappeared, Rich King reports tonight that that book is still flying off the shelves.
In the author's eyes, it's a story of how the Bulls overcame adversity to win an NBA crown last season. To Michael Jordan fans, it's been viewed as an attack on the greatest player to ever wear a basketball uniform. Even as excerpts of the text were leaked in the newspapers, players were denying some of the quotes in the book.
It's untrue. All of them. All of that stuff untrue. You know, Mike didn't say anything about not throwing the ball to Bill and have Paxson not have bad blood, and, you know, it's just a whole bunch of nonsense.
Author Sam Smith has defended the book on numerous promotional appearances, including one on Channel 9.
But I think, you know, you hear through, if you read through the comments of some of the guys, you hear that, you know, there is a lot of fact to this. And I've been a reporter for 20 years, and, you know, I feel pretty confident in the book, and I feel pretty good about it.
Well, the author has spoken, and some of the Bulls players have spoken about the book, but how about the fans? How about sales after 1 week on the shelf? Let's find out. The revolving doors have been moving pretty well at downtown stores for Crocs and Brentanos. How have things gone for the Jordan Rules? Tell us how this book is selling.
Like crazy, like wildfire. When it first came out, I'd say the first 5-10 people in the door, this is the book they wanted. Yeah. Like mad fire.
What's it comparable to?
Oh, gosh. Closest thing that we sold recently was Scarlet. That was this popular and that this many people wanted. It's been crazy.
What are people saying about it?
Well, let's see. I had one wife in buying it for her husband. She didn't buy any of it, but he wanted to read it. She didn't feel right buying it. A lot of people are just curious, and they want to read it before they hear about it.
And the curiosity seems to be the big selling point, besides the obvious attraction about anything concerning Michael Jordan. Why would you buy that book?
Well, I love the Bulls, first of all. I love Jordan. And probably need to learn about what he came from and what he's done, and you know, just learn about how he's become such a good sports player.
So you've read parts of it. What do you think?
It was pretty controversial. I don't think he said most of the things that he did say so, but he's a pretty good guy from what I heard.
Yeah, it's part of a team deal where you're trying to make a winner and things like that happen.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. What's your impressions of? Is it too much made of Michael Jordan, the book?
Definitely. I don't think he would go around calling other people crumbs and things of that sort. So it was kind of funny. Yeah. So I definitely think you should read it, though.
Rich King, WGN Sports.
The book is definitely worth reading. Right now it's on the number 3 spot in Chicago in the nonfiction book list, although it hasn't yet cracked the nationwide list. With all the controversy dying down, and fortunately for Sam Smith, too, because he's taken some broadsides during all this, I think you can go ahead and get that book and read it now for what it is, an entertaining look inside the scenes at what turned out to be a spectacular season for the Bulls. A bit different than you might expect, but a good book nonetheless, and one that's certainly worth reading. We'll take another break right now and come back to talk about some of the NBA statistical leaders at this point in the season. That and more when we return in a moment. Welcome back. You know, with Bill Cartwright on the sidelines waiting for that broken hand to heal, the Bulls have turned to their bench for help in the middle. Stacey King and Will Perdue doing a solid job in there so far. And beginning tonight, as we mentioned a bit earlier, the Bulls get a third option at center with the activation of Scott Williams. He's off the injured list and he's ready to play. Earlier tonight, he sat down with our Wayne Larrivee.
Well, thank you very much, Dan. And as you know, the Bulls getting set to take on the Denver Nuggets have a new member of their team, at least this year, a new member. And joining us, of course, is Scott Williams. And Scott, I know that the long rehabilitation from shoulder surgery, getting the contract straightened out, finally you're activated. That's got to be a load off your shoulders.
Yeah, it really is. I'm excited to be back out here with the guys, you know, just traveling and practicing with the fellas and watching on the bench. And just anxious to get back out there. And I was just counting the games down so I could, you know, come back out here and enjoy my teammates.
You know, Cotton Fitzgerald Simmons, the coach of Phoenix, once told me that, you need certain situations for certain players. And you stumbled upon a certain situation that worked. You were a free agent coming into the Bulls situation. You were the only rookie to make a world championship team. That must have been exciting for you.
Yeah, it really was. I felt kind of down after the college draft. I felt as though I was as good as some of the players taken. However, with the problem with my right shoulder, just scared a lot of scouts away. And I knew if I had a fair shot to make a team, I could compete at this level. And that's basically what the Bulls gave me, a chance, an opportunity to play. And I went out there, and it was kind of a long season, getting playing time at the beginning and not getting so much through the middle. And then getting into the playoffs, which was a real high for me, playing against the Lakers, where I grew up, watching Magic and Kareem and Jamal Wilkes and all those guys. And that was really exciting for me to be on the floor against them.
And you played well against them. Was it something that the Lakers did? Vlade Divac, you seemed to play him very well. You fit in that series so well and played effectively.
Yeah, I think that this type of thing where those guys were really taking the ball down low against us, and they were really out quicking us once they got the ball down there, backing us in power, but they were quick and explosive to get the ball to the basket. And Vlade and Sam, I'm talking about Perkins, of course. And it was a situation where Coach felt as though I could go in there, body them up, and be quick enough to counter some of their moves and keep them away from the basket.
You play a little of the 4, or the power forward, or you'll play a little of the 5, the center position. Which do you prefer, and how much of a difference is there? How much of an adjustment in your game?
It's really not that much different on this team. Because most of the power forward and the center spots are kind of interchangeable, depending on, post sprinter is a power forward, and the center's more likely to take the ball out of bounds. But once you get down to half-court set, basically they're interchangeable. You have to know both positions, so it makes it real easy. And the coaches work with me, and they make sure I'm real comfortable out there on the court at all times.
Good defensive player is the billboard on you, and I imagine you pride yourself on that.
Yeah, I really do. I've always, took pride. Even when I was in high school and we played for the state championship team, our motto was together, and we played defense together, and we won a state championship together. And I just carried that along into college, and now in the NBA.
Ready to go tonight?
I'm really excited. Hopefully I'll get some minutes out there and just kind of contribute in any way I can.
I'm sure you will. Scott Williams, thank you very much. We wish you all the best.
Thank you very much.
All right, let's send it back to Chicago and Dan Rowan.
All right, Wayne, thank you very much. Nice to see Scott back in a Bulls uniform after a rather ugly contract situation that they finally got resolved. And we'll see shortly whether or not he gets any minutes tonight. Right now, we want to take a look at some of the NBA statistical leaders at this point in the season. 10 games in, some of the races beginning to take shape, and there's a familiar leader in the scoring department, as usual. Michael Jordan up there on top. His number's a bit down for him, but at 31-5, he's 3 points ahead of Dominique Wilkins of Atlanta, with Michael Adams now at Washington, Karl Malone and Tim Richmond now with Sacramento, rounding out the top 5. Field goal shooting at this juncture in the NBA season. The leader, Charles Barkley of Philadelphia, shooting almost 70% from the floor. And not far behind is Horace Grant of the Bulls at 63% for the season. Michael Cage, Blue Edwards, John Williams of Cleveland. We might also mention that Stacey King is number 7 at this point in the NBA, and Michael Jordan number 9 in field goal percentage. No Bulls among the rebounding leaders, but some big, tough guys in there. Kevin Willis of Atlanta. Tonight's opposition, Dikembe Mutombo, 14.6 a game and 18 points. He'll be a factor in the game tonight. Rodman doing a great job for the Pistons. Olajuwon, who's down, of course, and Barkley up there, too. 13.3 rebounds a game for Charles. We'll step aside, come back to wrap it up in the Bullseye in just a moment. We'll get you caught up on what else is going on around the league tonight in the NBA, so we'll have that for you in a moment.